Oi, oi, all right, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is the Doodle Review coming through with a new album to give a spin, chat some fraff about, and then assign an arbitrary score to. Today we're talking about CHROMAKOPIA, the eighth studio album from Tyler, the Creator. Real name, Tyler Akonma. This Hawthorne, California rapper's catalog is one that very directly documents the change in taste, growth, and maturation of one man through his music. While on some level you could say this of any artist whose body of work spans significant length of time, we all change and it'd be hard for anyone's creative output not to reflect that. Tyler quite actively explores his personal growth through music. In fact, sometimes it feels like he's working stuff out and actually growing through or because of the music he's producing. This very unique and specific form of emotional honesty has always been part of what draws me to Tyler's work, and I imagine the same stream for many of his millions of fans. And it's also allowed him to create a situation where he can be outspoken, brash, and sometimes just plain wrong, and still ultimately be embraced and, when needed, forgiven. And that's rare in our current, very heightened and morally sanitized cultural climate. But it's because Tyler's imperfect nature is like baked into his work. He's quite literally gone from being a shock jock teen screaming homophobic slurs in Odd Future to openly exploring his own bisexuality from his Flower Boy era onwards. Tyler has always respected the format of the album as artistic expression, often weaving threads between the songs into an overall concept. But his sixth record, Igor, marked a step up. On this album, arguably his best, arguably a classic, the artist not only spun a narrative through music, one of a person struggling with the demise of a relationship that the other person just didn't feel strongly enough about, but he crafted a whole aesthetic and persona to support that narrative, perhaps matching just how much the protagonist himself was willing to change to turn the tides on in that relationship. 2021's Call Me If You Get Lost was a new era, and with that, a new aesthetic and new story. On the surface, there were enough songs about romantic pursuit to make you think that this record traced the story of Tyler rebounding and seeking a new relationship. But in fact, the globe-trotting, world-traveling arc of the record documented his own self-discovery, charting his own path and becoming self-assured in his tastes. You know, he wants to travel, he wants to be free, he likes fine things, he keeps his friends and family close, and he has a healthy skepticism of new hangers-on. And most significantly, while he might have found himself falling head over heels a few times, ultimately, monogamy just ain't for him. And that really sets the scene for CHROMAKOPIA, a record that thematically deals with the fallout of those lifestyle choices, the need for some sort of mask to maintain the forward momentum of a nomadic, impulsive existence, and questions of its sustainability as the artist finds himself getting older. While I'm sure we share almost none of the same life experiences, there's something about being a similar age to this artist and following their journey since near enough the start that often results in the theme of his record striking a deeper chord than others, sometimes even before I get into the music. I was a bratty, angry edgelord of a 17-year-old when Bastard came out, and his brand of, you know, say the worst thing you possibly can just because humor mixed with a sense of emotional confusion reflected my own and kept me coming back to that record. Flash forward 15 years, I'm in my 30s, a lot more sure of who I am, and yet I'm at that point in life where questions start hovering, like, are you going to get married? Do you want kids? When are you going to have kids? While I'm not avoiding parenthood because I'm touring the world, buying mansions, luxury cars, launching a clothing line, or taking part in wild sex parties, it is interesting to me that those societal and familial pressures are apparently universal. What CHROMAKOPIA does best, probably as good as, if not better than Igor even, is really explore its themes. The pressure to settle into a traditional family life is just one of many strands. The paranoia of fame, black identity, monogamy, abandonment, and mortality itself. When you list them, they all feel like they could be just separate topics, but to me, all of those strands wrap around this central core of identity, specifically how masks are used to protect and preserve that identity, but how you can almost confuse your own perception of that identity with masks as well. And I believe this core theme of identity underpins everything, but is very much at the surface on the track Take Your Mask Off. Here, Tyler explores this through a few different perspectives: a peer from a middle-class background acting gangster, a pastor denying their sexuality, a new mother who feels they've lost themselves through parenthood, before finally turning the microscope on himself. And on this verse, Tyler doesn't hold back. He unloads all of his anxieties. It starts at the superficial, getting older, losing hair, then a level deeper, focusing on his career, paranoia of fame, imposter syndrome over his music, fear of his fashion line failing, then another level to relationships. And it's here that idea of a mask obscuring your own perspective is explored. He takes himself to task for pursuing polyamorous relationships that might hurt others and even suggests his avoidance of parenthood might not just be a lack of interest. Getting to the heart of the record, he reveals here that his previous assertion that his promiscuous lifestyle is just an honest reflection of his desire. He actually says that that itself could be a mask that hides his insecurities, that maybe he's just too selfish or too narcissistic to be a parent. Like I said, there's many strands that come off of this core theme of identity, and we'd be here all day going through all of them, especially because each song kind of tackles a different topic, and I do eventually want to talk about the music. But before we move on, I want to highlight maybe just a few other smaller lyrical and thematic moments that really got to me as well. Like him is an incredibly profound moment that explores both Tyler and his mother's feelings towards his absent father, with his mother ultimately admitting to letting her own feelings towards his father prevent their relationship in the past. Fatherly relationships are often explored through music, but man, it's rare we hear more than one perspective, and the honesty is raw, it's rare, and it's beautiful, even though painful. I also want to acknowledge some pretty fantastic lines Tyler drops in regards to women and particularly motherhood. Despite Tyler's brash personality, his openness regarding his many, many relationships, he demonstrates a deep respect for women that I think should be discussed more because it's lacking in rap at large, it's lacking in music at large and society. On Hey Jane, he says, "You got to deal with all the mental and physical change, all the heaviest emotions and the physical pain just to give the kid the man's last name." And take your mask off. He echoes this with the line, "Body ain't been the same. Postpartum is long. Your identity gone. Mama, your first name, the last one got changed." It would be ironically a little sexist to put on a parade for a male rapper just for making these statements, but I really feel it should be noted by men particularly that it is possible to talk about sex, to talk about relationships, to write bangers, still make aggressive music, but to cut the misogyny. I think back to this year's 21 Savage album, which put an equal emphasis on the sacrifices of the rapper's mother in his journey, yet treated almost every other woman in the narrative like shit. I'll get off my soapbox, but that's just how I feel. Let's turn to the music because this video is getting long and we're all getting older. CHROMAKOPIA continues to showcase Tyler's unique production prowess. For me, what always hits with his work on the musical level is the way he can take a light and airy track and make it fuzzy and dark, or do the opposite, take a heavy beat and guide it into a really melodic resolution. Noid is perhaps the best example of that. The first half of the track rides a sample that initially gave me a Sabbath War Pigs vibe, but actually comes from the Ngozi family's 1977 track, Niza Kupanga Ngozi. And this Zambian band is a really cool discovery to come out of my research on the record. But not only does this very staccato, aggressive two-chord guitar burst create suitable tension for a track about looking over your shoulder, but the sampled lyrics, Nyanja, also follow the same tone when they're translated from to English. "When you come at my house, please be respectful because I don't like talking too much. Talking too much breeds gossip." So it's a sample pull that works on so many levels, but halfway through, Tyler pulls a production miracle and guides the song into this beautiful piano-driven bridge, then dropping some fuzzy synths that make it dark again, then vocals and piano that make it sweet before its close. It's the perfect segue to Darling I, which musically is probably one of my favorites here. Just one of his most satisfying earworm melodies since Earthquake. All of this is an interesting background though to an album I actually have mixed feelings about. The themes are really well written, cohesive, and emotionally hit me really hard. There are just a lot of parts that take me out of it. I actually feel like a lot of the harder stuff, the more aggressive tunes, they might still carry the themes fine, but they don't match the quality of the mellow stuff. As a person, I'm always kind of drawn to the darker stuff, the heavier stuff, but here they just aren't cutting it. I like the beat of Sticky, but find the hook a bit dull. Same with Thought I Was Dead. Schoolboy Q's features decent, but the hook's dry and the horns are kind of annoying. Ratata is decent, but even Noid, which I stated, I love the sample pull, just and the way it switches, it doesn't really have a hooky track to it. And all of the tracks sequence and segue well, but I just think the quality bar raises so much higher on tracks like Darling I, Judge Judy, or Tomorrow, it makes the transition still kind of jarring. So overall, thematically, this hits. It's raw, open, and honest and beautiful, but musically, it's all over the place. The soft stuff I love, and the harder stuff mostly misses. So I'm going to give this one a 6.7 and knock it on the head. That's just what I think, though. What are you lot saying? Let me know in the comments. Check in the description for some related reviews you might be interested in. If you can be asked to do all that, then subscribe, stick around, share some thoughts, show some love, or just have some abuse in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video. And if you've stuck around for this long, I'd like you to send me an email, doodlereview.club@gmail.com. I will send you a link to a newsletter that I'm starting. Just a fun way to maybe do something different with this community outside of what we do here. It's pretty mellow. Do it once a week and let you know what's coming up that I'll be listening to, and other random music things that I don't get to talk about here. So drop me an email, doodlereview.club@gmail.com, and I'll hit you with the sign up link. Other than that, take care, mate. Mind how you go. See you soon. Cheers. Bye.